In this video, we'll cover the problem logger rate limiter on LeetCode. So here, if we look at an example input, you can see that we have a class called logger. In the beginning, they're going to instantiate it like so. Then they're going to continuously call the shouldPrintMessage method on the object that they instantiate. So that's what all of these are. And here are the arguments for the shouldPrintMessage. So it's going to be a timestamp, so time is 1 here, and then it's going to be a message. Now, we need to determine whether or not we should print the given message. So, the rule is that we can print each unique message at most every 10 seconds. So for example, foo is printed at 1, so we cannot print foo at 3. So we say false, that would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, false. And then here again at 10, it still has not been 10 seconds from 1s, so here again we cannot print foo. But at time 11, now the difference in times since that first print is 10, so we can print foo again. However, during this time, bar is totally fine. Bar has not been printed yet, at least as of time 2, so we can print bar. But printing bar here does not work because we've already printed bar at time 2, and 8 minus 2 is not greater than or equal to 10. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is basically for every message, we need to know the last time that it was printed. So we'll have a hash table in JavaScript and object that maps every message to the last time that that message was printed. And with that, whenever we get a new message, we can say, hey, has it been 10 seconds since the last time? If so, we're good to go. We can just print it. Otherwise, we cannot print it. Now, the first thing we're going to do here when we're coding this is we're going to switch the syntax here, because in a real interview, you're expected to know and be familiar with JavaScript class syntax, which is the modern version of doing this. So what we'll do is we'll create a class called logger that corresponds to this right here, and we'll have a constructor, or I guess actually is what corresponds to this right here. This right here is creating the class logger. This right here is creating the constructor. And we also need a method called shouldPrintMessage that takes in a timestamp and a message and does something. And we can bring over this annotation right here. Okay, so we can delete all of this. And now we can get started with our coding. So remember, we want a hash table. So that's going to tell us the last time where each message was printed. So we can say last print time. It's going to be an empty object. In the beginning, when we initialize our class, no messages have been received, so it's just empty. Now, every time that we call this method, we're going to do some logic. And so let's kind of think through this. The very first time we do this, well, we're going to say, hey, I've never seen this message before. So first thing we want to do, I guess, is we can figure out, have we previously seen the message before? So message previously seen is going to be whether or not the current message is a key in our object. So we can do this.last print time.has own property, our message here. And so what's going on here is we have not seen the message. So we'll say if the message is not previously seen, what do? Well, we just return true. We say, okay, we know that we can print this message because it's never been printed before. But we also need to store the time that we're printing it so that in the future, if we try to print it, then we will stop ourselves if it's within 10 seconds. So we'll say this.last print time at the message equals timestamp. So this message was last printed at the current time. And that handles this case. That also handles this case. Now, when we get to the 3 for foo, we have to do a different check. So here, first of all, this check, message previously seen, is going to be true. So we will not go into the if condition. So we're going to come out here. Now, what do we want to do? Well, we know the message has been seen. So let's say we want to get the last time the message was seen. So last time message was seen equals just this right here. This.last print time at our message. Now what we want to know is whether or not it has been 10 seconds. So we can say if the current timestamp minus the last time the message was seen is less than or equal to, is greater than or equal to 10. Now remember 10, this is a magic number here, so we don't want to do that. We're going to make it constant. So we'll say cooldown period length is 10. So here we can say if the timestamp minus the last time the message was seen, Okay, I guess one thing I want to change is previously seen is probably not the notation we should use. It's really about printing messages. So we can say message previously printed here. And then we'll say last time message was printed is what we should be calling this. And we can, well, we'll have another variable. If time elapsed since last print. This variable here is just going to be the current time minus the last time it was printed. And then here we'll say if the time elapsed since the last print is greater than or equal to the cooldown length, we are good to go. So let's see. Actually, you know what? We can do this. I'm going to take the negative condition. So if the time elapsed since the last print is less than the cooldown period length, we can just return false. We don't have to do any other work. If we get here, we know that it has been at least 10 seconds. So then we can just return true. We're good. We can print the message again. However, one thing we need to do is we need to update our last print times because we're about to print. So we should say this message is being printed at the current time. Notice that here we do not update the last print time. And that's because they are not updating the problem. For example, if they updated at 1 and then they overwrote that to 3 and then overwrote that to 10, we would never, overwrote that to 10 here. Then we would never be able to print 11 because it's just 1 second after 10. However, this is true. So the way they're doing this, they only care about when we actually print. They don't care about when we attempt to print and are rejected. Okay, believe this should be all the logic for this function. So let's go ahead and see if it works. Okay, it works in this case, and it works overall. Okay, that's all for this video, and thank you for watching.